Hello, welcome to the self-learning platform by Dr. Sushma Singh. Today we are going to start Unit 8, Citizenship. Let us first introduce the unit. A distinctive relation that people share in common among relative equals in public life and the rights and privileges it confers and the duties and obligations that arise therefrom has been noted and given expression to in several solicitudes in the past. Citizenship denotes membership of a political community expressing such a relation. Such a relation often deeply marks other social relations in general and public life in particular. Some societies, such as Greeks, the Romans, and the city-states of medieval Europe, gave definitive legal and political expression to this relation. With the rise of modern liberal states, citizenship, which was confined to a small fraction of the permanent residents of a polity, came to be demanded and progressively extended to larger and larger segment of the population within such states. The demand for equality came to be mainly expressed as equal citizenship. Further, citizenship became the normative tool for socio-political inclusion of groups struggling against prevalent forms of inequality, discrimination, and exclusion. Today, everyone is the citizen of one or another state, and even where citizenship is in dispute, several international and domestic provisions ensure a modicum of basic rights and obligations. While citizenship entitlement has become universal, there are unresolved contestations regarding the criteria that should inform inclusion and exclusion of claimant to citizenship. The rights and the resources that should accompany it, and duties and obligations expected of the citizen, the nation relation of the citizen to the state on one hand and to the community on the other, the relationship of citizenship to other cherished values such as freedom and equality, and the civic and civilizational values and practices that should inform citizenship. Further, an activity citizenship is seen by many as offering solution to several elements of the polity in our time. Given these complex demands, pulls, and pressures, the understanding of this notion remains deeply contested in the prevailing literatures on the subject. Now let us move to the next topic, the significance. The growing significance of citizenship has not put to rest the theoretical ambiguity associated with this notion. The importance of the concept of citizenship to engage with a series of political processes and values, and therefore as a major normative and explanatory variable, has undergone significant changes over the time. T. H. Marshall employed it initially to explain the striving for legal, political, and social rights among the excluded social groups, with particular reference to the working class. He traced the development of citizen rights and connected this development to the situation of the bourgeois on one hand and the working classes on the other. Citizenship concerns, however, are much larger, and ethnic groups and minorities of all sorts have resorted to it as a sheet anchor. Brian Turner explores the link between the social movement and conflicts and citizenship identity. There are some writers who argue that the citizenship rights in their origin are closely linked to elite structures. Anthony Giddens and the Ramesh Misra draw our attention to the deep ambiguity surrounding citizenship rights. Janowski regrets the missing link between the citizenship rights and obligations and the absence of micro studies relating the two. In recent years, there have been major attempts to link citizenship with the group identity and to defend a group differentiated conception of citizenship against a conception of citizenship based on individual rights. Sociologically, there are few studies to demonstrate how marginalized people are brought within the vortex of citizenship rights and how nations integrate strangers from other countries and cultures. Further, we know little about the causes that drive people towards the ideals of citizenship. There are wide differences in this regard from Marshall's attribution of the same to class to Maslow hierarchy of needs. Further ideological predictions deeply qualifying understanding and significance of citizenship. These are just a few highlights and concerns of the growing literature on citizenship in our times. There was no significant discussion on citizenship in social science literature in the recent past. However, in the last decade and a half, citizenship has suddenly emerged as a central theme in social science literature, both as a normative consideration and social phenomena. Certain recent trends in the world and in India have increasingly suggested citizenship as a nodal concern. Increasing voters' apathy and long term welfare dependency in the Western world. The nationalist and the mass movements which brought down bureaucratic socialist reason in Eastern Europe and the Soviet Union, the backlash against welfare regime in the West and centralized often one party regimes in the third world and the demographic shift in the Western world towards multicultural and multiracial social composition have increasingly drawn attention to the significance of citizenship. While the decline of authoritarian regimes which curbed citizen agency greatly highlighted the importance of the latter, governmental attack on welfare state brought to the fore threats to social rights so central to the inclusionary practices of citizenship. Critics of the welfare, socialist, and authoritarian regimes have brought to the fore the importance of the non-state arena constituted of citizenship agency. Philosophically, the decline of positivism, which provided little scope for the free play of citizenship agency, has greatly highlighted the significance of the choices that citizens make discreetly and collectively. In India, an active citizenship is suggested as the need of the hour for the prevalent authoritarianism, lack of accountability of public offices, widespread corruption, intolerance of dissent, violation of fundamental rights, lack of citizens' grievances, ventilation and redressal, lack of public spiritedness and work culture, transparency in administration, and intolerance towards other citizens. Overall, there is great appreciation today of the quality and attitudes of citizens for the health and stability of modern democracy. Their sense of identity and their relationship to regional, ethnic, religious, and national identities is very important to ensure political stability in complex and plural democracies. Certain qualities like ability to tolerate and work together with others who are different are important ingredient of successful democracy. Galston suggests that together with these qualities, the desire of citizens to participate in the political process in order to promote the public good and hold political authorities accountable, their willingness to show self restraint and exercise personal responsibility in their economic demands and in personal choices which affect their health and their environment and their sense of justice and commitment to a fair distribution of resources are called for in any healthy democracy. He says that in their absence, the ability of liberal societies to function successfully progressively diminishes. Today, there is a great consensus that ever before that mere institutional and procedural devices such as separation of powers, a bicameral legislature, and federalism will not ensure the health and probity of the polity. Civic virtue and public spiritedness, which are integral to citizenship, are required for the purpose. Now let us move to the next point, that is nature of citizenship. Definitions of citizenship are galore. It has also been approached from different perspectives. Tentatively, we can consider citizenship as membership of a political community with certain rights and obligations broadly acknowledged and shared in common. The membership that citizens enjoy is both passive and active. Considered passively, citizens are entitled to certain rights and obligations without their conscious involvement in shaping them. But citizenship also involves active engagement in the civic and political life of communities, and this is reflected in the rights and obligations related to it. While increasingly certain rights are conceded to all human beings in normal times by states, citizens have certain specific rights which non citizens do not possess. Most states do not grant the right to vote and to stand for public office to aliens. The same can be said about the obligations too. What we regard as rights of citizens today were initially a preserve of the elites. However, eventually the greater democratizing processes led the large masses of residents, the marginalized, the ethnic groups, minorities, women, and the disabled persons to benefits and burdens of the citizenships. Just the fact that one is a citizen gives access to many rights which aliens do not enjoy. Aliens become neutralized as citizens with attendant rights and obligations. Passive membership often is associated with limited legal rights and extensive social rights expressing redistributive arrangements. The state plays a major role in devising and sustaining them. Active membership highlights citizen agency and is closely linked with the democracy and citizen participation. Most political communities of which citizens are members today are nation states. Therefore, when we talk about membership of political communities, we primarily refer to membership of nation states. Citizenship rights are universal in sense that they pertain to all citizens and in all relevant respects. They are sought to be implemented accordingly. Universality of rights need not preclude enjoyment of group related rights, and to the extent that citizens belong to relevant groups, they are increasingly considered such rights. Minorities and disadvantaged groups in many societies do enjoy certain special rights. However, often equal rights of citizens are seen as running into conflict with group rights and cultural belonging of subgroups. Citizenship invokes a specific equality. It may admit a wide range of quantitative or economic inequalities and cultural differences, but does not admit qualitative inequality wherein one man or woman is marked off from another with respect to their basic claims and obligations. If they are marked off for special consideration, it is on account of the disadvantages they suffer relative to others or due to their distinct collective identity. Citizenship invites persons to a share in the social heritage, which in turn means a claim to be accepted as full members of the society in which they have a claim. Therefore, it provides for equal access to and participation in the public fora and institutions which arbitrate on social heritage. Citizenship is supposed to be access and participation in public life. They collectively decide to great extent the framework and the criteria that determines public life. Therefore, undoubtedly it has a leveling impact. In this context, one of the most important questions that comes to the fore is whether basic equality can be created and preserved without invading the freedom of the competitive market. However, in spite of the role of the market There has been an undeniable sociological tendency wherein citizenship in recent years has been inevitably striving towards social equality, and it has been a significant social tendency for over 300 years now. There is a profound subjective dimension to citizenship. It involves a conscious agency, reflective and deliberative, qualifying his or her pursuits with public interest. It is a way of life growing within a person and not something given from outside. Legal perspectives on citizenship, therefore, have their necessary limitations. Citizenship involves duties as well as rights. Over the years, an array of rights have been associated with it. The same cannot be said about the duties associated with citizenship. It has long term consequences in terms of increasing the role of the state and shrinking citizen initiative. Citizenship can be divided into three dimensions: civil, political, and social. The civil dimension is composed of rights necessary for individual freedom, such as liberty of the person, freedom of speech, thought, and faith, the right to own personal property and to conclude valid contracts, and the right to strive for a just order. The last are the rights to defend and assert all one's claims in terms of equality with others under rules of law. Courts of justice are primarily associated with civil rights. In the economic field, the basic civil rights is the right to work, that is, right to follow the occupation of one's choice and in the place of one's choice, subject to limits posed by other rights. The political dimension consists of the rights to participate in the exercise of political power as a member of the body that embodies political authority, to vote, to seek and support political leadership, to marshal support to political authority, upholding justice and equality, and to struggle against an unfair political authority. The social dimension consists of a whole range of claims involving a degree of economic welfare and security, the right to share in full the social heritage and to live the life due to one as per the standards prevailing in one's society. The social dimension also involves the right to culture, which entitles one to pursue a way of life distinctive to oneself. In feudal society that prevailed in large parts of the world prior to the onset of modernity, status was the mark of class and was embedded in inequality. There were no uniform standards of rights and duties with which men and women were endowed by virtue of their membership of society. Equality of citizenship did not qualify inequality of classes. The caste system in India too ranked caste unequally in terms of right and obligations, although the nature of inequality prevalent here differed in significant respect from that of the feudal society. These inequalitarian orders were progressively displaced by a system based on the civic rights of the individual, not on the basis of the local custom, but the common law of the land. The evolution of different institutions representing and embodying different dimensions of rights was uneven. In Europe, The trajectory of the evolution of these rights can be marked as civil rights in the 18th century, political rights in the 19th century, and the social rights in the 20th century. However, in the colonies, particularly in India, we find the national movement and the independent regime that followed it invoked all these threefold dimensions together. Here we want to wind up today's lecture. Thank you so much for your attention.